Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Caligula's Horse, Charcoal Grace, out January 26 on Century Media Records. This album has 9 tracks, 62 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are an Australian progressive metal band. The design is exactly what I was expecting from this record and from this band. They always know how to put albums together that offer a sense of continuity, that offer a path, that offer a journey, one that's enjoyable, one that's immersive, one that connects with the listener. This record is all of the above. It's an album that from the moment you press play, you feel completely absorbed by the sound, by the atmosphere, by the path that the record has. Really easy to follow, really easy to understand, easy to connect with, easy to see all the different ebbs and flows that the record has, and you forget time. And whenever you're listening to an album like this and you have the ability to forget time and just be within the moment that each song really offers to the listener, you're able to get a lot more out of the record. And if you're the band, you're able to give a lot more to your listeners, to your fan base, to those that decide to pick up this record and embark on that path of going from first all the way to last song. As far as the sound is concerned, this album has great qualities. A lot of times when you listen to progressive metal albums, the band is trying to emphasize their technicality, emphasize their sense of progressive music, metal, rock, that they try to do too much. The albums become a little bit too textured, too overlayered. Just there's too many moving pieces, and it makes the overall experience sometimes a little bit cumbersome for the listener, specifically when you're talking about an album that pushes the hour mark. The way they took on this record musically, it allows them to feel, to create a feeling of simplicity to this album. When I sat down and listened to this record, never once did I felt overwhelmed by the experience. Not once did I feel like the album was going over my head. It's an album that just because it feels simple, it doesn't mean it is. It still has a lot of complex elements in it, but the simplicity in which those elements are presented to the listener from a soundscape point of view is where the record really has the winning formula coming into fruition. It's an album that showcases that you could be a progressive metal band and you can have still a lot of life. You can be very dynamic and offer different perspectives of what being a progressive band is all about. The record is not one-dimensional. The sound on this album is very versatile, from the more stripped down acoustic to the more complex, with more layers, with more dynamics, using the guitars to bring in that progressive nature into the sound, using the bass, using the drums, giving a little bit more warmth, taking a little bit away from that warmth with the vocal performance. It's an album that from a soundscape point of view, you see so many different sides of Caligula's Horse represented throughout the entire album, showcasing everything that they've done in the past, everything they can do, and everything they will be doing in the future. An album that musically is super versatile, but very approachable and easy to digest. I enjoyed tremendously this experience. You listen to the first song, and that is a snapshot of what Caligula's Horse progressive take on music is all about. Then you listen to the second song, and then perhaps a heavier experience, but still their own progressive nature and their own progressive sound coming forward. Then you listen to the next song, different from the previous two, but still connected with the experience of the album and still connected to the DNA of the band. That's how the whole album goes. Every song has a sense of individuality. The soundscape changes, morphs, grows, moves. There's a lot of movement in this record, but all of them are connected. They're all offering you similarities, or at least there's some similarities between the songs in terms of some of the key ingredients that makes the album feel as one, but it doesn't take anything away from the diversity of sound that the record puts together. So it's a very crafted progressive metal album that offers different sides. It's like a Rubik's Cube. There's, depending on how you move it, there's the different sides, the different colors, and this album is a little bit like that. And I felt, as someone who's not necessarily a progressive listener, it's not my favorite genre within metal, this album was as complex as it can be, but still accessible to me at the same time. And that kind of sound, that kind of experience, that kind of progression that exists within this record, this not really knowing what's coming around the corner, is definitely something that I appreciate, something that I like, and something that allowed me to get a lot more out of the entire journey of listening to this album than what I was expecting coming in. An album that sound-wise relies heavily on the guitars, more so than any other element. The guitar sound on this record is excellent, excellent. Its texture at times is very rich, always rich. When it's texture, when it's simplified, when it's stripped down, when it's a little bit heavier, when it has a little bit more of a almost a hard rock / metalcore tuning to it, still giving life, still giving presence. The guitar sound on this album is definitely the main calling card, or at least one of the main calling cards, and I was a little bit surprised by it. I was expecting it to a certain degree. I was not expecting them to go this far as putting almost all the chips in on the guitar sound, on the guitar experience, on the execution, on the tuning. I honestly really enjoyed the tone. The tonality of the guitars on this record is phenomenal. It has a lot of that simplicity that I was talking earlier, comes from that tonality. It's a guitar sound that you're familiar with, that you heard before, that it gives you this sense of being around, like you've been around that sound. It's not something strange, it's not something jarring, it's something welcoming. And then everything that they add to that sound or to that tonality is what creates the change, is what creates the movement. That's where their progressive nature really comes in. So the guitars are definitely one of the main pillars of this record, with the vocals being the other, without a shadow of a doubt. But I also really enjoy the bass. Obviously, you cannot have a record like this without the bass being impactful, without the bass having a great sound, a great presence. I just felt like the bass overall throughout the entire album was more of a layer and not necessarily a main ingredient. The guitars are definitely the main ingredient. The bass is playing a little bit more of a secondary role, as are the drums. But the consistency and perhaps warmth of the drums are something that impacts an album like this extremely well. Maybe being one of those elements that becomes a sense of commonality between the tracks. Now, vocally, Jim's voice, this guy can sing. He can sing. 2 words to describe his vocal performance on this album: haunting and beautiful. I don't think you can go any further, or I don't think you need to go any further. These 2 words really paint the picture of what he did vocally throughout this entire album. Very haunting, very moving, creating ebbs and flows. The ebbs and flows musically are there, but he creates a lot of movement, a lot of up and down movement, and he creates a lot of depth, and he's also very rich and very warm in his delivery. Absolutely incredible performance. He brought this record to life, even in songs that have a little bit less life in them, that feel a little bit more melancholic. His delivery still had ingredients of a life essence in them that wanted to blossom. Not always possible because of the dynamics of the songs, but the ability to kind of give you that idea that they were there and they're about to break through adds a lot of value to the overall performance, into the songs themselves, and to the record overall as well. This band can do no wrong. I think they're one of the best within the genre. They just know how to craft albums extremely well. I don't think they view songs just songs. They view songs as pieces of a much larger puzzle, and then they construct those songs with that vision in mind so that they can achieve that goal. This record is a beautiful puzzle coming together with all these 9 pieces being a part of it. I don't know how they can continue to do albums at this level with this quality without dropping the bar at all. This album just really feels complete across all of the different parameters. It's a great sounding record, and it's an album that vocally just blows your mind when you're listening to it. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Golem. I feel like this is the heaviest song on the album, heaviest song on the record. It's the second song on the album, perhaps the most straightforward song on this record in terms of in terms of the direction that it takes, and in terms of not letting the progressive side of the band or of the song itself create a lot of potholes or create a lot of speed bumps. This song feels a lot more one directional, with one sense of movement. Still has great bass. I think actually this is one of the tracks where the progressive side of the band comes across better during the bass, or with the bass sound I should say, and a lot less with the guitars. The guitars have a more modern hard rock metal core feel in terms of the chunkiness and heaviness that they provide. So the progressive side of the sound really comes through from the bass and not necessarily from the guitars, which makes the song be simplified, which makes the song feel more straightforward, and that's why the song has those kind of attributes. And then when you add the heaviness to it, it obviously also makes the song feel a little bit more narrow. It has a massive chorus, both musically and vocally. I would say that this is a slightly radio-friendly song, that it's easy to listen to, it's easy to digest, so I'm not surprised that this one was one of the singles. Next we have Sails, very warm and stripped down track. This feels like a summer ballad. That's how it comes across. It's a very bare bones track. There's not a lot of meat on the bone here. It's a track for the first 2/3. It gets a little bit heavier towards the end, or at least it gains a little, I shouldn't say heavier, it gains a little bit more volume towards the end. But it's a song that's always about the experience. It's about being in the moment. It's about having always your heart on your sleeve, and you wear t-shirts. That's kind of how this song comes across. It strips down a lot and allows you to see a little bit more of Jim as a vocalist, because of the nature of the sound being so stripped down. The vocals become the guiding light. They become the main source of impact. They become the main actor in this movie. In this little movie, so you're able to focus on the vocals first and foremost, and everything else is playing a little bit more in the background, creating the ambiance that allows the vocals to have movement, that allows the vocals to be very emotional, to feel very connected, and create the overall atmosphere that this track has. Very atmospheric because of that stripped down nature and the overall warmth that comes from the vocal performance. Last but not least, we have Mute. Mute is a 12-minute song, close to 12 minutes, epic track. I mean, if the whole album is a journey, this song has a journey built in within the song itself. It's very dynamic. This song is very, very, very dynamic musically and vocally. It's a track that just has a lot of texture, has a lot of layers, it has a lot of richness to it. It has a lot of movement. You never really know where the song is taking you, because the song itself, like I said, it's a journey. I love the fact that even though sound-wise this song has a lot to offer, it's not a stripped-down song like Sails. It's a song that has a little bit more of a robust experience. But even with that robust experience, I still felt like this was a track that was completely dominated by the vocals, that the vocals were the ones being like the puppet master, pulling all the strings and commanding in some way where you were going with this song, where you were being taken by this track. Massive song, not just because it's 12 minutes long, but because of what it offers and what it represents within the record. This is it, Caligula's Horse with Charcoal Grace, out January 26th on Century Media. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video.